We can't forget that we are in the middle of a primary season. The midterms are coming up later this year, and important elections are happening before that. Most people, unfortunately, check out during the midterms, let alone during the primaries, but they are incredibly consequential, especially considering the stakes later on this year. And it's difficult to think of a state where the stakes are potentially higher than New York, particularly in a legal sense. And so I'm very pleased to now be joined by constitutional law professor and candidate for New York Attorney General Zephyr Teachout. Welcome to the show, Zephyr.
Oh, it's so great to be back.
It's great to talk to you. We recently spoke on Rebel headquarters. I'm glad to have you on the Damage Report for the first time.
Yes.
So I do want to focus on your campaign, but I have to ask you, what did you think about yesterday's summit?
I mean, it was horrifying. It was awful. I hate to say that it's not surprising. So there's a combination of feeling totally outraged and understanding that this is who Donald Trump is. For him to stand up with a tyrant and take that tyrant's word over his own national security is totally unacceptable. Of course, what I'm focused on is when you have this kind of arbitrary power, arbitrary betrayals, a lack of commitment to truth, a total abuse of constitutional authority, and total abuse of the position. The question is, what can we do about it? And in New York State, and especially the New York State Attorney General, has powers to address and take on the Donald Trump administration in a way that even Congress cannot. What we see at the heart of his administration is a presidency that is making money off of relationships with foreign governments, a kleptocracy. And one of the things that the state attorney general in New York can and should do is bring litigation to make that impossible.
Mm-hmm. So look, I was talking in the intro about the stakes in this election, and you've touched on that. Outside of Donald Trump specifically, or perhaps including that because he is so important inside of New York politically and economically, what do you think the stakes are for the AG race?
Well, it is, if not the most important, one of the most important legal offices in the country right now, at a time when law itself is under threat. So one, we need an attorney general who is willing to be really creative, aggressive, bring a background, which I bring, of anti-corruption, criminal law, and constitutional law experience to be able to, one, investigate Donald Trump's businesses. And we know that there is every reason to believe that there's illegality in his businesses. Something that's happening right now is that Barbara Underwood, the Attorney General, she's fantastic, she's not running in the fall, has brought a civil lawsuit, damning lawsuit, against Donald Trump for his foundation. For the way in which the Donald Trump Foundation just blatantly violates the law. She needs Andrew Cuomo, governor of the state of New York, to give her a criminal referral so that she can criminally investigate the same fact pattern. I have called for that. David K. Johnson, Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter, has called for that. I am totally baffled that Andrew Cuomo has not given that criminal referral, because we need to stop and deter and investigate criminality in the Trump organization and the Trump Foundation. The stakes are high in so many other ways as well. I mean, one way to think about it, if you're not from New York, is the way in which the Attorney General has a responsibility to step in when the federal government itself refuses to enforce the law.
Yeah.
So there was another big case yesterday that was just in New York, but goes to a larger problem involving Kushner companies pushing out rent-stabilized tenants.
Yes. Yeah, I actually seen that.
Yeah, using construction cancer-causing toxins that are unbelievably dangerous for kids, aggressive noise, failure to repair, doing everything they can so that tenants would move out so they can make a big profit in turning them into condos. So this might sound like a one-off or a local example of lawlessness, but it's not one-off, and it's not just local. This is actually routine behavior by big New York City real estate companies. And those big New York City real estate companies are, one, the major donors to politics in New York State. In fact, as much as 1 in 10 political dollars in 2010 came from big real estate in New York. And second, big New York City real estate is where Donald Trump came from. So addressing the local illegality, the local abusiveness, is also being willing to take on the source of power that enabled Donald Trump in the long run. And having an attorney general, again, with the background that I have, and also the willingness to be totally independent of corporate money. I'm the only one not taking big real estate money, real estate lobbyist money, corporate PAC money, LLC money. And actually our first fundraising quarter just finished. Having an attorney general who's willing to take that on matters for people in New York, because then they have a champion who doesn't have ties to the real estate industry, but it matters for people in the country, because then you have a champion who doesn't have ties to New York City real estate as well.
Yeah, and I saw actually just yesterday, you were talking about your fundraising. I saw that Ryan Grimm of The Intercept reported that amongst the various candidates for AG, you're leading amongst small dollar donations as well.
Oh, I launched my campaign only 5 weeks ago. This campaign came out of Eric Schneiderman's resignation. And so it's a very quick campaign, and we have already over 10,000 contributions. And 97% of our contributions are under $200. So we are a true grassroots campaign. And while some of my opponents filed bigger numbers, we had more humans supporting. In fact, 100% of our donors are human beings. As we know, after Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's victory, that's what people are looking for. They're not interested in politicians who are taking orders from big corporations.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned that as well. At some point, I'm definitely going to want to have you back on before the primary to talk about the rise of these strong, especially female progressive candidates. New York has them at all levels, from running for governor down to state senator as well, and obviously Congress, as you mentioned. It's exciting to have you as a part of that.
The outsider women are moving in New York State. It's a state that has been just locked down with old school, backroom, big real estate money politics. I mean, just one more thing about Donald Trump. His organization and his foundation were operating in New York, not just last year, not just 2 years ago, but for 10, 20 years. And public officials were turning away. So he comes out of a political system where big real estate money has been protected.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Zephyr, for joining us. Great to get a little look into what's going on in your campaign. Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Great, I really look forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for watching that video. Before you move on to the next, I just wanted to let you know I have a documentary series out. It's called True North, available on Go90, and now you can help get it nominated for a Streamy as a documentary series. The link is down below. Thank you so much.